Welcome back to Psychological Depth. In today's episode, we'll be diving into the topic. Stop listening to her words. Look at her outfit. She tells you she's not like other girls. She's looking for something real, something meaningful. She's tired of games, tired of players, tired of superficial connections. She wants depth, substance, a man who sees her for who she really is. And you're nodding along thinking, finally, someone genuine, someone different, someone who values what I value. But you're sitting across from her at the restaurant, and something doesn't add up. Because while her words are saying, I want substance, her outfit is saying something else entirely. The dress that leaves very little to imagination. The makeup applied with precision that took an hour. The heels that serve no practical purpose except to extend her legs and shift her posture. Everything about her presentation is designed to maximize one thing: male attention, sexual attention, the kind of attention that has. And you're confused because the words and the presentation don't match. She's telling you one story with her mouth and a completely different story with everything else. And you don't know which story to believe. Here's the answer. Believe the outfit. Believe the presentation. Believe the behavior. Because words are cheap. Words can be constructed. Words can be adapted for any audience, any moment, any desired outcome. But how someone presents themselves to the world, the choices they make about their appearance, their environment, their lifestyle, that's harder to fake. That's the truth leaking through. Today, we're going to talk about something men need to understand at a fundamental level. Stop listening to what she says. Start looking at what she shows. Her words will tell you who she wants you to think she is. Her presentation will tell you who she actually is. And those two things are often very different. Let me start with the fundamental principle. Words versus behavior. Human beings are verbal creatures. We communicate through language. We explain ourselves through language. We construct our identities through the stories we tell about ourselves. And because we're so focused on language, we tend to believe what people say. She says she's looking for something real. We believe her. She says she values loyalty. We believe her. She says she's not interested in superficial attention. We believe her. But here's what psychology teaches us. What people say and what people do are often disconnected. Not because everyone is a deliberate liar, but because people have limited self-awareness. Because people construct narratives that protect their self-image. Because people genuinely believe their stated intentions even when their behavior contradicts those intentions completely. She might genuinely believe she wants something real while simultaneously choosing clothes designed to attract the most shallow form of male attention. She might genuinely believe she values depth while simultaneously spending her weekends in environments specifically designed for hookup culture. She might genuinely believe she's different while behaving exactly like everyone she claims to be different from. The disconnect isn't always conscious deception. It's often unconscious contradiction. She's telling you who she wants to be. She's showing you who she actually is. And most men make the mistake of listening to the aspiration instead of observing the reality. So, I'm going to give you a simple rule. When words and behavior conflict, believe the behavior always without exception. Because behavior requires investment. Behavior has costs. Behavior reveals priorities. Words cost nothing. Words adapt instantly. Words tell you what she thinks you want to hear. Behavior tells you what she actually values. Let me talk about clothing specifically because clothing is behavior made visible. Every morning she makes choices. What to wear, how much skin to show, how much effort to invest in appearance. These choices aren't random, they're communication. They're signals sent to the environment about who she is and what she's looking for. Clothing is not neutral. It's never been neutral. Every culture throughout history has understood that how someone presents themselves is a message about their values, their status, their availability, their identity. Modern culture tries to pretend this isn't true. Modern culture says don't judge people by their appearance. Says what someone wears doesn't mean anything. Says she can dress however she wants without it reflecting on her character. This is ideological fantasy. It contradicts thousands of years of human behavior and hundreds of studies in social psychology. How someone presents themselves absolutely communicates something. Pretending otherwise is willful blindness. So what does revealing clothing communicate? Let me be direct. It communicates attention-seeking. It communicates awareness of sexual market dynamics. It communicates prioritization of male attention over other considerations. This isn't moral judgment. This is pattern recognition. A woman who chooses to maximize her sexual presentation is a woman who has decided that sexual attention is valuable enough to optimize for. That's information. That's useful information for a man trying. Now, I can already hear the objection forming. She dresses for herself, not for men. Women dress to feel confident. Women dress for other women. Women dress for self-expression. Let me address this directly. The "I dress for myself" argument collapses under the slightest examination. If she dressed purely for herself, she wouldn't need to leave the house to do it. She could wear the revealing outfit at home alone, feeling confident in her empty apartment. But that's not what happens. The outfit requires an audience. The preparation, the hour of makeup, the careful selection of clothes, the uncomfortable shoes, all of it precedes going somewhere. Going somewhere where people will see, where men will see. The "for myself" claim doesn't explain why the presentation requires witnesses. Or consider this. Watch how she dresses when she's going to an event with her boyfriend versus how she dresses when she's going to an event without him. If clothing were purely self-expression, the audience wouldn't matter. But the audience always matters. The boyfriend's presence changes the calculation because the presentation isn't for herself. It's for whoever she's hoping we'll see. And the "I dress for other women" variation is equally hollow. Yes, women notice each other's outfits. Yes, there's competition among women. But the competition is about what? It's about who looks more attractive to whom to men. The female competition for status through appearance is ultimately about male attention. Women compete for the ability to attract the attention that other women want. The "for other women" argument just adds a step. It doesn't change the destination. Let me talk about attention as currency because this is the economic system she's operating in. For women, especially young, attractive women, attention functions as currency. It validates. It confirms value. It provides psychological income that many women are deeply dependent on receiving. And like any economic actor, she optimizes for the currency she values. If attention is the currency, then more skin typically generates more attention. More revealing presentation generates more currency. The feedback loop is clear and immediate. This isn't a conspiracy theory. This is observable behavior. Watch what happens when a woman posts a modest photo versus a revealing photo on social media. The engagement difference is dramatic. The revealing photo gets more likes, more comments, more DMs, more of the currency she's been conditioned to value. She learns through thousands of iterations that skin equals attention, and she optimizes accordingly. Now, what does a high need for attention signal? It signals external validation dependence. It signals that her self-worth is contingent on others confirming it. It signals potential instability because attention is inconsistent and people dependent on inconsistent inputs are themselves inconsistent. It signals that male attention specifically is something she's learned to pursue. Which raises questions about how she's pursued it in the past and how she'll pursue it in the future. None of this is proof of anything specific. But it's data. It's information. It's pattern recognition that helps you understand who you're dealing with. A woman with low need for external validation doesn't present herself in attention-maximizing ways because she doesn't need the currency. A woman with high need for external validation presents herself in attention-maximizing ways because she's dependent on the income. The presentation tells you which category she's in. Let me talk about environments because clothing doesn't exist in isolation. Where does she spend her time? What environments does she choose? Because environments aren't neutral either. A nightclub is not a library. A pool party is not a coffee shop. Different environments attract different people seeking different things. And the environments she frequents tell you what she's seeking. Nightclubs are hookup environments. I know that's not what the brochure says. I know some people meet their spouses at clubs. I know exceptions exist, but the general pattern is clear. Nightclubs are loud, dark, alcohol-fueled environments where physical presentation is maximized and meaningful conversation is minimized. The entire architecture of a club is designed for one thing: facilitating physical attraction between strangers. That's the product being sold. A woman who spends every weekend in nightclubs dressed to maximize sexual attention is a woman who has chosen that environment repeatedly. She's not there by accident. She's not wandering and confused. She knows what that environment is. She knows what it offers and she keeps returning. That tells you something about what she's seeking, regardless of what she says about wanting something real. Contrast this with a woman who spends her time in different environments. Book clubs. hiking groups, volunteer organizations, church communities, professional networks. These environments also communicate. They communicate interest in activities, in community, in pursuits beyond physical attraction. The woman who chooses these environments is showing you her priorities through behavior, not just claiming them through words. I'm not saying one environment is moral and another is immoral. I'm saying environments are information, and the information helps you categorize. Which brings me to the core point. Men have the right and the responsibility to categorize. Modern culture tells men they shouldn't judge, they shouldn't evaluate, they shouldn't have standards based on presentation or behavior. This is manipulation disguised as morality. It's designed to disable your pattern recognition, to make you ignore signals that would otherwise inform your decisions, to leave you blind so you can be more easily taken advantage of. But men have always judged. In every culture, in every era, men evaluate women for suitability. This evaluation includes presentation, behavior, environment, history, and character. It's not optional. It's not cultural. It's biological. Men assess reproductive fitness through multiple signals, of which presentation is one. Attempts to shame men out of this assessment are attempts to disarm men. They don't work on men who understand what's happening. And here's what's interesting. Women judge, too, constantly, ruthlessly. A woman evaluates a man's income, his status, his potential, his confidence, his body language, his social proof, his presentation, his friends, his car, his apartment, his watch. She's running assessments continuously. Nobody tells her she shouldn't judge. Nobody shames her for having standards. But men are supposed to pretend presentation doesn't matter. This is a double standard so obvious that only ideological blindness can miss it. So judge, evaluate, assess. It's not cruel. It's rational. It's how you make decisions that affect your future. And one of the things you should evaluate is, what does her presentation communicate? Let me talk about the selection phase, because this is where the information becomes actionable. Most men don't filter aggressively enough at the selection phase. They meet a woman, she's attractive, she's interested, and they enter a relationship without adequate evaluation. Then months or years later, they're dealing with problems that were visible from the beginning. They just weren't paying attention. Or they were paying attention, but overrode what they saw because they wanted to believe her words instead of her behavior. The selection phase is when filtering is cheapest, before emotional investment, before commitment, before intertwined lives and complicated exits. At the selection phase, you can observe, evaluate, and decide without significant cost. A mismatch discovered at selection cost you a date. A mismatch discovered after marriage cost you half your assets and years of your life. So during selection, look at her presentation, look at her environments, look at the gap between her words and her behavior. Is she telling you she wants something serious while presenting herself in ways that attract non-serious attention? Is she claiming to value depth while spending her time in shallow environments? Is she saying she's different while behaving identically to everyone she claims to be different from? These contradictions are information. They're data points. They're early warning signals that most men ignore because they're too busy enjoying the attention to evaluate whether the source of that attention is someone they should actually invest in. Let me address the categorization directly, because men need to understand this. Some women are suitable for short-term interactions. Some women are suitable for a long-term partnership. These are different categories with different criteria. Confusing the categories leads to disaster. A woman who maximizes sexual presentation, frequent hookup environments, has high need for external validation, and shows gaps between words and behavior. She might be perfectly fine for a casual connection. No judgment about that. But inviting her into a long-term role, making her the mother of your children, building your life around her, that's a category error. You're using a short-term person for a long-term purpose, and you'll pay for that mismatch. The men who end up devastated, cheated on, divorced, alienated from their children, they often ignored early signals. They saw the presentation, they noticed the environments, they registered the contradictions, but they overrode what they observed because she said the right things. Because she seemed different when she talked. Because words are seductive and behavior requires uncomfortable conclusions. Don't make that mistake. If her presentation tells you one story and her words tell you another, believe the presentation. If her environment choices tell you one thing and her stated values tell you another, believe the environment choices. Behavior is truth. Words are aspiration at best. Manipulation at worst. Let me talk about the defensiveness response because you'll encounter it when you start paying attention to presentation and behavior instead of just words. Women notice. They notice that you're evaluating, that you're not just accepting the narrative they're constructing. And many of them become defensive. They push back. They challenge. They accuse you of being judgmental, shallow, or controlling. This defensiveness is itself information. Why would someone become defensive about their presentation if that presentation was truly innocent? If she genuinely dressed for herself with no attention-seeking motivation, why would she care that you noticed what she's wearing? If her club attendance truly meant nothing, why would she react strongly when you observe the pattern? Defensiveness signals awareness of contradiction. She knows on some level that her presentation communicates something she doesn't want you to conclude. The defensiveness is an attempt to shut down your evaluation before it reaches the obvious conclusion. It's a preemptive strike against pattern recognition, and its presence confirms that the pattern you're recognizing is accurate. Don't be deterred by defensiveness. Note it, register it as additional data. A woman comfortable with her choices doesn't need to defend them aggressively. A woman who knows her presentation is congruent with her stated values can simply explain the congruence. The defensive reaction tells you there's incongruence she's trying to hide. Let me address the social media dimension because this is where the pattern is most visible. Social media is a presentation laboratory. Every post is a choice. Every photo is curated. Every image shown to the world is a decision about what matters enough to share. And the decisions reveal priorities. Watch her social media, not obsessively, not invasively, but as data collection. What does she post? How much skin is typically visible? How provocative is the presentation? How much of her feed is dedicated to showcasing her body versus her activities, achievements, interests, or relationships? A feed full of bikini shots, revealing outfits, and sultry poses tells you something. It tells you that she's learned through the reinforcement loop of likes and comments that her body generates attention. And it tells you she's optimized for that attention. She's chosen repeatedly to present herself sexually to an audience of hundreds or thousands of people. That's behavior. That's a pattern. That's information about what she values and how she's learned to get it. Contrast this with a feed that shows activities, travel, friends, achievements, hobbies, and interest with her body appearing incidentally rather than as the focus. This feed tells you something different. It tells you that she has sources of value beyond physical presentation. It tells you that attention isn't her primary currency. It tells you that she has a life beyond being looked at. Neither feed is proof of anything definitive, but both feeds are information and the pattern across posts, across time, across different contexts. That pattern reveals priorities more honestly than any conversation could. Let me talk about the historical and evolutionary dimension because this isn't arbitrary. Men evaluating women's presentation isn't a modern phenomenon. It's not social construction. It's not learned behavior that can be unlearned through the right ideology. It's biology. It's evolution. It's the product of millions of years of reproductive selection. Throughout human history, men have assessed female presentation as information about availability, fertility, status, and compatibility. The signals have varied across cultures. The specific markers have changed. But the practice of assessment of reading presentation as communication has been constant because men who failed to read signals correctly made poor reproductive choices and their genes didn't propagate as successfully as the genes of men who read signals accurately. Modern ideology tries to override this programming. It tells men that judging presentation is wrong, that it's superficial, that it's oppressive. But ideology doesn't rewrite biology. Men still assess. Men still evaluate. Men still read presentation as communication. The ideology just makes some men feel guilty about what they're doing naturally. Which is the point. The ideology is designed to disarm, not to enlighten. So understand, your instinct to read her presentation is not a flaw. It's not conditioning you should overcome. It's pattern recognition that evolved because it works. It provides information that helps you make better decisions. Trust it. Develop it. Don't let ideological shaming convince you to disable your own assessment capabilities. Let me address the double standard conversation because it will come up. Someone will argue, you're saying women should be judged by their past behavior while men aren't held to the same standard. Let me be clear about what's actually happening. Men and women evaluate each other by different criteria because men and women are different. This isn't unfair. It's biological reality. Women evaluate men primarily by future potential. Can he provide? Can he protect? Can he lead? What will he become? Men evaluate women primarily by past behavior. What has she done? Who has she been? What patterns has she established? This asymmetry isn't arbitrary. It reflects different reproductive strategies and different information needs. A woman choosing a partner needs to assess future provision capability because she may become dependent during pregnancy and early child rearing. A man choosing a partner needs to assess past behavior because historical patterns predict future behavior, including fidelity. Neither assessment strategy is superior. Neither is more fair. They're different because men and women are optimizing for different things. Complaining that men evaluate past behavior while women evaluate future potential is like complaining that lions hunt differently than wolves. Different creatures, different strategies, both effective within their context. So, yes, her past matters to men. Her presentation matters to men. Her behavioral patterns matter to men. This isn't unfair to her. It's men doing what men have always done and always will do. She can present herself however she wants. But she can't control how that presentation is interpreted. She sends the signal. He reads the signal. Both are exercising agency. Both are accountable for their choices. Let me talk about what wise men do with this information. Wise men observe without moralizing. They watch her presentation. They note her environment choices. They register the gap between words and behavior. And they draw conclusions without judgment. She's not evil for presenting sexually. She's not bad for seeking attention. She's communicating, and he's reading the communication. That's all. Wise men categorize accurately, based on the information received. They determine which category she belongs in. Short term, long term, neither. The categorization isn't punishment. It's organization. It's putting people in appropriate roles rather than mismatched roles. A woman perfectly fine for casual interaction, but unsuitable for long-term commitment isn't being judged negatively. She's being assessed accurately. Wise men act on the categorization. Once they've determined category, they behave accordingly. They don't try to transform short-term people into long-term partners. They don't ignore signals hoping they're wrong. They don't override pattern recognition with wishful thinking. They accept the information and make decisions congruent with it. So, what are your thoughts on today's topic? Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel Psychological Depth so you won't miss any of our upcoming posts. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.